Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of World Bigfoot Radio.
Let's check this out. Can I really see it? So here's our campsite.
Look at, here's another one.
There's Duke's.
Kind of rock.
I like it just because it's got so much.
Another one's just sitting on the surface.
There's our Bigfoot casting that we got.
Just sitting on the surface.
Gives you an idea here of what we're dealing with. I wear a size 14, so that just gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here. Got this amazing little river down here. Our porta pooper. Boom. Here we go. Look at this. It's about 9:30 in the morning. Temperature's probably getting close to 40. It was 22 degrees this morning when we woke up. Look at this shit, is awesome. This water's so clean, you can just scoop up pot full and boil it up and you're good to go. I'm just going to call you Dr. Lunsford from now on. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Because you deserve a doctorate in Bigfootology,
Hey, man,
or Sasquology.
years I should have one.
We should call it Sasquologist. Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
I was wondering what that was.
But that's what a lot of people mistake for Bigfoot hair, and they send it to the DNA lab, and it ends up
He gets thrown in the
It
garbage.
gets thrown in the garbage.
Shit.
But that's pretty cool because you got the green in them.
Yeah, that is rad. This is such a nice spot,
Yeah,
man.
very nice.
Saturday morning at camp. I'm just sleeping in my tiny camo tent. Hawk and Animal Team LOD. The amazing William Lunsford, Michael Matt, and say hi, Erik.
California Giant.
California Giant. He is our official scalable object for the weekend at 6'6".
Go for it. You got the run of my bank account. Whatever I got to you last year, like she supports my big.
And here we are in the morning. Everybody's getting woke up. Got a little campfire going. Drank some coffee. I don't know if we're gonna eat something before we go hike, maybe. But then we're gonna go hiking. We've just been sitting around telling Bigfoot stories and stuff. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird, but.
You tell them about the troop that have been talking to us all morning long.
Yeah, all morning we've been hearing the same peculiar whistle that we heard yesterday coming from the other side of the slough over there, which of course is where the you can see the opening in the trees. There's like a big wet meadow there. On the opposite side of it is where there's a ridge line that goes way up the mountain that way. And they've always got signs. They got a playground up there, so they're usually running around there all the time. Here goes somebody driving by on the road and making a giant dust cloud. So anyway, way over there, that's where the noise has been coming from all morning yesterday morning too, and then this morning, and you can't see it, but way over there. That's where we're going to, and film more when I get there. So we'd split into 3 teams of 2, and all trying to take different routes to get to where the Super X was. And Erik and I got the route that brought us directly here. As you can see, there's the boulders right in a row, so that lets us know exactly where we are. There's the boulder stack across the way. See? Boop. And here's some of the remnants of what used to be the Super X. But all this extra tree fall that had been brought in that wasn't here previous years, still just littering the floor. Time to go check out the mega teepee. Alright, so we came down from where the Super X was, keyword was, and come over here to check out on the mega teepee. There it is, and I'm pretty sure there's been more trees added to it. There's that arch, but that tree went that way. And then of course this one's always just interesting because it's just the compiling of different trees and branches all in awkward positions. Don't mind me if I trip. And it's just stuff like this that's just weird and cool. I'm sure with the wind we're getting one of these days, stuff like this is just gonna collapse. It is just really cool. I'll have to review some more footage, so I don't remember that one before. That would have had to have been if those are there, but it's just really cool. Calling in the Sasquatch. Not seeing any of the objects that we filmed before here. So, I'm sure I probably got the same spot from the right angle somewhere along the sequence, even without any help. Maybe I'll get some help here shortly. Here comes Mike. William's sitting over there.
Seasonal waterfall.
Well, here's the far side of the valley, folks. And that is the upper edge of it. And here we are. We're most of the way up to where the Super X was and the mega teepee is now. We're going back up there to do our monthly check on Forest Construction Inc. and see what they've managed to get done since the last time we were up here. Last time we were here, they decided to make an arch that went underneath their teepee with a nice live, perfectly healthy 40-foot pine tree. So we'll see if they changed anything this time. And we'll be up there in a little bit.
We found the X. Oh, what's that little thing at the bottom there? Oh, that's just Duke. Look at that. Well, he's behind the tree now, but there he is. Look at that. Those are full-grown trees in formation. And there's Duke at the bottom. Zoom back out. It's amazing. Totally
Hey
amazing.
guys, it's August. Here we are. We're up on top of the ridge line, where it goes further up the mountain. As you can see, as I wasn't saying, but I should have been. There's the 7 boulders all in a row. There's the 2 giant boulders stacked on top of each other. And that's where the Super X used to be. Here to try and line up some comparison shots. Should also be a stump there somewhere. Not seeing it. Okay. And must have been this far forward. Maybe he was further back. One more shot of the giant boulders. Is there a huge shadow right in the middle above it? No, there is not. One more shot of the giant boulders. Is there a huge shadow right in the middle above it? No, there is not. Jane's head, barely peeking above the boulder. So whoever that was standing back there, that's about where his waist was. Yeah, pretty big. Okay, Hey, William's here.
There you go.
And there's that big boulder stack. As you guys recall, I was here trying to line up that shot. And I went, not far enough back. Not far enough back. I gotta go further back. And I turned the camera, there's the wing axe. And then I came back like this. And I walked over it. Let's see that? See any faces or anything? Oh, look at the original video. There was one over here too. There was a couple of them back there. See that where all those shadows were? That's a gray boulder there. And sparse pine. There was a couple of them down here on the ground watching. And then there was a couple of them further back. I stepped over here. And up to here. Swung the camera back around. By the way, that root ball, that's new. That was not even here the last time we were here. Another tree. Kaploop over. And there's where the big boulder stack is. So I'm going to line up the comparison shots for the stuff that I found over here. And
that was the other thing that I had you verify, because I got that one random pan where I turned around and there was a big one way back in the wood line that had a smaller one climbing the tree next to it. And there was like 4 or 5 of them that were right behind me in this timber tangle. And a bunch of people found them and pointed them out, and then I had to do a breakdown on it. When Erik was there, this is the same place that big female was, a different time that I was up there watching me. And I showed him that. I said, here's this timber tangle right here. You see any shadows underneath it, behind it, around it? No, you could see right through it. When I was there, it was all shady and there was faces in there.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious to me that those were real. Whatever was there was real. It was it was not pareidola or any of that kind of stuff. Because I mean, sometimes I see pictures I mean, as you know, I mean, I try to look at as many pictures as I can, but there are people out there that see things that they just assume automatically it's a Bigfoot, or they think it's a Bigfoot, but in some instances it's probably not.
Yeah.
You know, but I could say from what I saw based on what you showed me and what I saw when I was there, those guys got to be there. They got, because we heard them. We heard them.
Well, and look at where we were at too. That spot where I got those, same spot where I got the big female with the little young one in front of her, and then her daughter apparently further down the hill behind the X structure. That's the same spot where they were all in that timber tangle behind me, another month separated from it. Right over the ridge from that is where that 5-story teepee structure is.
Yes, amazing.
And that's the exact spot where their 6-story tall X structure used to be that they disassembled. The pieces of it are lying on the ground right there. The center post for it was a really tall tree that's got a Y in it, and they had laid the pieces across it. Well, how did the pieces come down and the center post is still standing there? All 3 of them.
And 2 of them were off the ground by about 3 to 4 feet, and there's no roots. So I mean, it's impossible that they had to be put there. There was
Well, not only did they have to be put there, what I'm saying is that they had to be actually taken down too, because the only way a natural, if you get a pile of timber that falls together, it's not going to come down until one of the things holding it up snaps off, and then it'll all fall over because the weight will drag it down. The center post that all these things were attached to is still standing there. That Y is still at the top of it. Where did the trees that were in it go?
Yeah. I mean, you've got multiple trees. I don't know. I think I counted 4, 5, 6, 7 different times where there's not just 2 or 3. There'd be 4, 5, or 6 of them kind of woven together and up and hanging off the ground and pinned up in the tree like 60 feet up in the sky. I mean, that was a thrill. I mean, to me, but what happened was, so when we were out there walking around, the best of my memory is we never heard any sounds.
No.
When we would hear the sounds is when we would walk back to the camp and we'd sit down at the campfire again and we're eating or having coffee or whatever. And then we would start hearing these sounds it sounded to me like whatever these things were, they were less than 100 yards away. I couldn't see what they were, but you could clearly hear these sounds. And then every day, it seemed like one day there'd be like 1, and then the next day there'd be 2, and then later that afternoon we'd go hike and come back. Now there's 3 of them, and at one point it seemed like there was 4 or 5 sounds coming from different spots near the campsite. So I don't know what was happening.
The night after you left, and it was me, Mike, and William were the ones that were left there. Hawk and Animal had left, you had left, so there was just 3 of us. And it was about a half an hour after dark, and we're sitting there, and weather's kind of crappy. We got a little pavilion we put up to keep the rain off of us. And across the road, you could clearly hear there was at least 2 in different spots that were making that noise. And back across the river behind us, there was at least 3 in different spots that were making that noise. And William's getting paranoid. He's like, Duke, are you guys hearing this? And I went, oh yeah, hold on. "Hey guys, how you doing?" And then they all stopped. But this was like a constant thing, and it was kind of funny because they wouldn't really be making this noise much until we got up. And then
Exactly.
all of a sudden they're making this weird noise from across the slough on the other side of the road. William goes over there first thing in the morning, everything's dead silent, and he hears one lone wood knock.
Yep.
Then he comes back to camp and the racket starts. And they kept it up until it was early afternoon before we went out in the woods. And they're making more and more and more of a racket. And as soon as we set foot out in the woods, it stopped. As soon as we
Exactly.
got back to camp, it started again.
And then one time I tried to sneak out there. Do you remember when I kind of like
You tried to go out there and record that sound 3 times, and you finally got it on the 3rd try.
Yeah, but it was just briefly though, because it's almost like somehow these things intuitively know that we're trying to record them. I don't understand, but I'm excited to go back. I mean, I'm really looking forward to 2022, whenever that time comes, where I can come back up there and spend more time. I mean, 3 days was great, but to me, I think if somebody can be somewhere 5, 6, 7 days, they're probably increasing their chances, dramatically. I would have to think.
Absolutely. Of the other people that I'm aware of that actually camp in the areas where they're around, they all mention that everything ramps up like the 3rd night or later. The first couple of days don't pay that much attention to you. Keep an eye on you. But if you're going to be around much longer than that, then they start getting really rambunctious. If they want you to leave the area, you'll know about it before the 3rd night. We were outside the valley where you and me were camping. You go a little bit further down the valley, down the actual pass where that first campsite is there.
Yeah.
Well, when we were camped on there, they let us stay there 1 night. By the second night, they were very insistent we leave.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kevin was sitting in the truck trying to get the 2 Yahoos with him to finish packing the back of the truck, which they had been doing for 3 freaking hours. And there was a Bigfoot like 25, 30 feet away from him, standing over by the river, growling at him and snapping branches off the tree. And he's like, "You guys, you gotta go."
You see that? Yeah, the old gray tree with a fork in the top of it. It's still standing. That was the center post for the Super X.
Yeah.
That's where the middle of the Super X was. So now, if it just randomly fell down, why did all 3 fall down? If you would have expected that maybe the centerpiece that was holding all that weight would snap and come down, it's still there.
Anybody knows anything about structures knows they don't. They make a lot of them freestanding. They're leaning. They do it in sequence 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. They like to use those trees that had the big Y in them to balance other things against. You see that over and over and over and over again. And there it is. We're looking at that gray one. They're all kind of swaying around. Walk a little bit forward and get a better shot from below it. There it is, folks. That's the one that was the center. It was holding up both sides of the X. Still very much standing.
Alright, so Duke and I went to try and find a different mega teepee structure. Couldn't find it. We'll have to relocate it on the maps and see if we can get a better idea where it is. But on our way back, heading towards camp, just thought this is
boulders with warts around here.
yeah, it's just interesting.
Several of them. We keep running into them occasionally. It's really kind of weird looking, and we can't figure out what made them.
Yep. The nice thing about being out here and finding tree structures is they become landmarks for us to know whereabouts we are. So then it helps us to not get lost. I mean, I'm just going to slowly pan around. If you're not paying attention, everything just looks the same. It's more incline, more down, hill. You got sloughs, you got trees everywhere, boulders everywhere, all this downfall. If you're not paying attention, you'll get lost.
One of the nice things is, though, the boulders look different enough that you can actually get used to what they look like in certain areas, and then from almost any angle you can spot them and go, that's that boulder pile. Okay, I know where we are.
Yep, just like that.
That one is pretty unusual.
Yeah, well, it's just like, you know, the ridge by where the Super X was. It's 7 in a row. Like they're literally right in a row. We're gonna get back to camp pretty soon here. Make us some brunch or lunch. Yep, we'll see you guys later. Coming along, figured I'd show you guys what happens with bark beetle larvae. But, I mean, just look at the cool intricate patterns. All the way down this. All the way down. This is really kind of cool.
Out the ceiling, hit his head on that iron bedstead, knocked his
Hey, this isn't Kelly Shaw from Rocky Mountain Sasquatch.
And then I had
It's actually Duke. There's a squirrel here near camp.
He's a cardiologist.
We're having fun
One of the
trying to
best
get video of him. He's got a
cardiologists
nice
in
black
Arkansas.
tail.
Good
We're getting ready to go out and take a walk here in the woods and look for things that are more interesting. There's Mike. There's William. There's Erik also looking at the squirrel with his field glasses.
He's got his little stash of nuts down there.
He's got, yeah, he's making his winter stash there. He's digging a hole, throwing them in. So that's what we're watching right now. We're getting ready to go. Or upriver, excuse me. From camp. There's camp. Apparently they like apples, so we said we'd bring some up and drop them off. You guys remember what this looked like earlier in the year? And it was water right up to the bank there. Yeah, there isn't much water left in it right now. Well, at least it's wet enough that we can have a campfire here tonight, so that's all good. See you in a bit.
It's cutie.
He's so well camouflaged from where I'm at. Little bitty too.
He's just not moving now. He's just sitting there petrified. See him? He's not budging an inch. His little jaws were just moving. See, I'll walk a little closer. Nope, no, he's.
Oh. So we come
That's
into
it.
the spring, and here's all this that was never here before. I'm like, where'd all this come from? Huh. Why did somebody pick up all these rocks and then just leave them here? It's true.
It's trippy.
Well, as it turns out, this is a gift, so.
I like our gifting stump down
Yeah,
there.
pretty well. Our gifting stump's right over there, so they leave presents here. And the other thing we found out is all this stuff we've been finding down here at camp, like when they found the 2 gloves and the sunglasses and stuff. They're finding that stuff in the woods and leaving it here so we can find the owner for it, or in case it's ours. So, yep, you guys can pick whatever rock you want out of the pile. I'm going to take the rest of them. Because they gifted me these wonderful rocks and I can use them.
Yeah, wouldn't insult them by not
And
taking
notice that they're all quartz.
And do you have names for these particular Sasquatch or Bigfoot that are doing this? Have you named them yet?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, we don't get to see any individuals often enough to be able to give them names.
They're pretty reclusive.
They're shy. So yeah, each one of you guys just pick one rock, whichever one you want. They've all been handpicked and gifted to us by the local Sasquatch. You saw the other ones I had there, Will.
Yeah, sure do.
Well, that one was right where I had my tent. And I'm like, how the fuck did one of these get over here? And then the other one is down there in the river where I always put my stuff to cool.
Huh.
And it wasn't there until I went to pick it up. It wasn't there when I put it there. When we were leaving, there was one there, and I went, where the fuck did that come from? I would have noticed that right away when I put the shit in here. And then I went, wait a minute, is somebody leaving these rocks? So I got a hold of Robin, and she said, oh yeah, they left them as gifts for you guys. Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna pick one out then.
As you can see, I mean, they're just right here. They're not.
Yeah, and
This is
right
pretty
where I
rad
was
right
parked my
here.
vehicle.
You could tell they
here.
broke these in half too. It's not like they're just. This is a trippy one here. I'm taking this
Yep,
one.
go ahead. Whichever one you guys
I'll
want.
take
I'm
one.
gonna
Did you get that one right there? Or the?
No, go ahead.
I just want to see the
I'm
difference.
gonna take this with me.
No, I like
good
this
luck,
one. This
Tom.
is the one right here.
Yep.
So this is my Bigfoot gift. Weird. From
Yeah, this kind of unusual colored quartz too.
That's good.
They're both fucking ridge line.
That's where they play, right over there. That's where the sounds have been coming from
Last
too.
time we were up here, they had the kids out and they had track, 12 to 14 inch long tracks all over that ridge line going up to it. Super excuse. Yeah, some idiot made a horse corral here at some point in the past and thought that was a good idea. Apparently it didn't work out very well.
What do you think's making these piles of wood down
It
here?
looks like a meadow and isn't. It's actually a seep and it's wet year round. This time of the year you can walk across it and get minimal wet. And they were over on the embankment on the other side kind of stuff too, and that'll have been long ago. Whoever these guys were doing this stuff, they left timber piles like that lying around.
Right. That makes.
So
Hear it? It could be a tree though, but it's
it's a
coming.
tree probably.
Yeah.
The stuff we were hearing earlier today when it was dead still, that wasn't tree. On the ground looking at me.
Here we go. We're trooping it in here. These are beautiful. Whoa! Beautiful ferns in here. If you come right here, there's a little spot to hop over. You can step on that log right there. Whoa! Almost slipped in. This is insane. Insane amount of trees in here. This is like a fucking zoo in here. Seriously. Unbelievable. Wow. I didn't know it was possible to have this many trees. It's like a spider web. Just an amazing amount of trees in here. That's fucking weird. Where you at, Duke?
Right here.
I can't even see you. What a trip.
Yeah, it's really easy to hide.
I literally can't see you.
No more camouflage
I didn't know it was possible to have this many trees in one area like this. Just moving around up there. The wind gods must be crazy.
Yep. That's something whistling. There's no doubt about it. That's not
It's a sharp, quick whistle.
Yep.
It's not a tree. It sounds similar to what we're hearing up there at the camp, doesn't it?
Yep, we did. Yep, like what we heard this
These
morning. There wasn't
motherfuckers,
any
maybe
wind.
they followed us down the road here. Are we gonna see another tree fall, man? It sure looks like it. Look at these fuckers. Oh, really? Shit. It's right down here.
I'm not 80 years old.
Yep.
None of you guys are 80 years old.
Nope.
And out here, this air's so fresh.
It's moving around. There's more than one of them.
Doesn't seem to make any difference if the wind's blowing or not.
Yep.
Hear that? Hear the clicking in there? When we were walking out, and I said, William, are you over there? And you said, yeah, I'm up here on the road. But I was hearing crackles and pops in the over here is what I was hearing it. Okay. That thing's driving me crazy. It's gonna make me want to walk back in there.
And it's across the river, whatever it is.
Here's what I'd like to. I'd like to have them throw rocks at me. I don't know if that sounds nuts or not, but that would be an experience. I mean, I don't want them to run up on me and knock me on the ground again. But if they want to throw rocks at us at the camp, but I got the feeling, and this is just my own little intuition, which I can't really base it on much other than what I feel, is those guys up there at your place are more on the friendly side. I just got that vibe.
They're playful. They're playful and friendly as long as you like follow their rules and stuff. You're all good. And as far as throwing rocks and stuff, they don't really. I haven't had the ones in that area do it. I've had plenty of other areas where they do it. But what they like to do up there is if you go to bed too early and you're not staying up late enough entertaining them, they'll just start throwing shit at your tent as soon as you get in it. Every minute or two, something will hit your tent until you like give up and get up again. I actually had that one time where it was going on for almost an hour, and I was just like, I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to sleep. I don't care. Everybody else is asleep. I'm not going to sit out there by myself and freeze just to entertain them. And I was just dozing off, and I hear crunch, crunch right next to my tent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys, there's donuts on the table if you're hungry. We need to sleep. I'll see you tomorrow. And that was it. Then they quit. They quit throwing stuff at the tent. They just let me go to sleep.
Exactly right. That's something to consider. These things. They have their own way of doing things. A lot of people think, well, they don't interact. But one of the first encounters my wife and I ever had was down here at one of the off of the Sulphur River, and it had started to rain, and there were some people who had skidders up there on this hill. They had been working. Well, since it was raining that morning, they hadn't showed up yet. Well, man, just as soon as she and I got there, I got out and I heard the creature and I mean, he let out one of those loud screams, and I told her, I said, he's over there screaming. She goes, oh, that's an ox. I said, that's the Bigfoot. Well, sure enough, finally when it quits, well, then they start firing up these skidders. Well, every time that skidder would rev that engine, then all of a sudden the creature would scream, and we were treated to that for 30 minutes, and you could see the difference. But it was like he was highly irritated because of that noise, and responding to that noise. Then another place over there where a friend of mine, a doctor from Texarkana, boy, he's a really, really good man, and had some nice land over probably 15 miles from where that was. And my friend of mine owns a logging company, had gone over that morning to do the logging, had his stuff set up early, so he promised his guys they could get off early that day. Well, when they get to that morning, start firing off them machines, all of a sudden, man, they're having trees being pushed over around them. They're having rocks thrown, stumps thrown, and then they're hearing the growling and stuff. And finally, the ramrod of the whole deal calls my buddy, who was not a Bigfoot believer at that time, and he said, hey, man, we got a problem here. He said, there's something down here that's showing out. We don't know what it is. And he described to him what was going on. And my buddy said, well, he said, I don't know what that is. He said, I got a friend that says there's Bigfoot down there. And his ramrod told him, said, well, if there is, then that's what this is, because it is pitching a fit. And he said, what are we going to do? And he said, we'll give it, 30 more minutes for the sun to come on up and see if it quits. And if not, we'll go far from there. Well, finally, as the sun came up, they never saw the creature, but coincidentally, all the growling and the howling and stuff stopped. So they'll react to stuff like that. So if that guy was cutting that tree and doing that, he might have got a little rude awakening. We can't say that, but it does happen. I mean, they really do. That's their territory. That's not, if you take one little thing out of that territory and that's something that they have attachment to, they're going to pay you a visit before you get out of those woods. So it was really a cool thing for that to happen. Really, it was coincidental. It was strange, but again, it was if it was Sasquatch, that showed that they had their power, how they were more protective of their environment, because like I said, there were giant trees laying everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I think when they pushed the two trees over, they're trying to get a reaction out of you guys, because we had two new people there they didn't recognize, and they're like, yeah, see how they react to this. They push over the first tree. Basically, nobody really reacts. Hey, tree fell down. How peculiar. Eric's the excited one. I want to run over and see what happened. And then he brings me back over there. And then what, like 2 hours later, didn't we just like go for a little ride or something, came back, and then the second one went down? Yeah. And that one, same thing. We're both watching it go over. And you're like, what the hell?
His enthusiasm, Eric's enthusiasm is going to be such a benefit. Right now he tends to be a UFO hunter, but his enthusiasm towards the subject of Bigfoot is going to be wonderful, because he has that. He wants to know, man. And he runs over there a lot of times, just with that same enthusiasm you and I used to have when we first started out, And so to see that, man, it kind of made me reminisce a little bit, like, well, you're getting old, man. But then, you also realize you've seen some of the other stuff before. Eric is going to be great. He's going to be great for this deal, and for sure, because I think the bug really bit him well, and he had enough proof right there from us staying right there that, hey, man, there's a whole lot to what Duke says and what Will has said to us.
Yeah, the other thing we didn't talk about was the trees that came down. I mean, to me, that I didn't see who pushed that tree down twice, but I don't know, probably looking back now, I don't know if it was such a good idea that I hopped up out of my chair and ran up there. But I just thought, you know what, if a Bigfoot just pushed that 80-foot tree down in the middle of the forest, less than 100 yards from where we were camping, maybe I'll be able to see it. So that's why I ran out there. And then I don't know if it was 4 hours later or the next day.
Not even. It was like 2 or 3 hours later. The first one they pushed down was across the road, and that was like early afternoon.
Yeah.
And we both went over and took a look at it, and somebody had sawed that tree partway through with a chainsaw and then just left it standing, which is kind of like, why the hell are you going to cut a tree halfway down
It
and
was
leave
weird.
it stand? That it's dangerous. That's
Yeah,
how
it was
people get
strange.
killed. Any logger knows better than to do that stupid crap. You don't take a tree halfway down. You either leave it alone or you take it all the way down. Because now it's in a precarious position. Wind hits it right, somebody's over there, splat, they're dead.
Yeah.
So, and
exactly.
it wasn't like super windy or anything at that point. That's why we were like, what the hell? Here comes a big tree. We could see it from camp going
yeah.
down.
You and
And
I
you
were sitting
ran right over
yeah.
there. You're like crazy courageous, not afraid of anything. You run right over there. And then you come back and you're like, dude, come over here and take a look at this tree. And that's when I went, well, yeah, this thing was sawed partway through the chainsaw.
We're walking up this trail here by the campsite. We're all sitting down there near the fire pit, and we heard a sound. And I saw this massive tree just come down. So I went and looked, and it didn't come out of the ground. It snapped off. So Duke, myself, we're gonna walk up. Hey, you're missing it. It's to the left, but we can start up there if you want. We can go around, actually. Gotta just keep going around because it's long. That sucker's at least 80 feet, I'd say. You'll see the snap off up here, actually. See it right there?
Yeah.
It's a trip, huh? About 4 feet.
You stay there, film. I'll stand over here.
Okay.
Yeah. This has been cut.
That's true, huh?
Yep.
Wonder why they cut it part way and then just let it sit there like that.
Whatever. Wind took it down.
What a trip, yep.
So
Oh well, that
no
ends that.
mystery there.
Okay, so that
No
was
mystery.
questionable. The second one wasn't questionable. Because if I remember right, we went for a little ride or a hike or something, and when we came back a couple hours later, we're sitting in camp, and you and me are looking across the road downriver from us, and there's a stand of these lodgepole pines. They're dead ones. There are 4 of them right together.
Right.
One of the 4 is whipping back and forth and goes kaboom. And we're watching it when it happened. Okay, the wind didn't do this. Because why didn't the other 3 move around or fall over? And again, your reaction is like, I'm going to run up there and see if I can find anything. And you're up there, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit here and hope you don't get killed or something.
And in that one, the tree came out of the ground. I mean, the roots and everything. So it was kind of trippy. It wasn't cut. It wasn't broken. It literally came out of the ground and was. I mean, these
Well,
were.
and you and me were both observing the top of that tree moving back and forth. Like I said, it was a stand of 4 trees like this.
Yeah,
And just the one top is moving, and it goes kaplooey. And this is, like what, 2-3 hours after the first one had done that, right over here. We got one right over here falling down.
These trees were like what, 80 feet or whatever.
Oh,
somewhere
yeah,
in that
yeah, yeah.
range.
Yep.
They were not little trees.
New, big
So
trees.
yeah,
And the other thing is,
that was
like,
exciting.
this wasn't,
really
it wasn't like a natural thing, like the tree got old and, the bad spot on it broke and gave way and it fell down. This was uprooted. The whole root system came up.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, and then of course I was checking we didn't have cell service there, but yeah, you drive out a couple miles down the Forest Service Road. There's one spot where you can get 1 bar, and I checked the weather, and I saw that the rain was coming, and I thought, well, if it's cold and it's raining, that means that there might be snow also, and I thought I don't want to be, I need to get going because it was time for me to go anyway. So I left and you guys got snowed on, I heard.
Yeah, it basically rained for about 2 hours and then it stopped. And then early in the morning it started up again. But by then it was cold enough that it was snow. William was too cold to sleep in his tent, so he went to sleep in the car. And when the sun came up, of course, the sun woke him up and he looked through the window and snow coming down. But that ain't because it's September. It does that every time of the year up there. It'll be 20 degrees in the morning in friggin' August and July, whatever.
Make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puck, would you? And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee.